Hello everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you can all see me okay. I'm feeling a little bit disheveled and chaotic. It's been one of those days. We all have them, don't we? I've got the dishwasher on. I'm leaving Stockholm tomorrow actually, so I'm doing all the wrapping up things like doing my laundry and tidying up and vacuuming and things. So all a little bit chaotic here, but happy to join you this evening for this week's live. So first of all, welcome to all our new members. Really thrilled to have you here. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. I'll be messaging you as well to hear what you're up to and where you're looking for support here in the group. And there's a lot of things happening in the next few weeks and months. You're joining at a very good time, so I hope you're excited to be here. My name is Anna Lundberg. As I hear the gurgle of the dishwasher, apologies again if you can hear that as well on the live, but this is real life, isn't it? So my name is Anna Lundberg. I'm the founder of One Step Outside, and I'm seeing some people hop on live, so do say hi when you come on. I'm really happy to see this group growing. I'm really hoping to expand the community of like-minded people like yourselves who are either tentatively taking your first steps out of the 9 to 5 or already on that road and sort of finding ways to make it work for you to take your business from surviving to thriving. And also, if you've been part of my community for a while, you know that I'm really passionate about this bigger topic of reimagining success. And that means that it's not just about quitting your job or starting your business. It's really about reflecting on all the different areas of your life. So your health and well-being, your relationships, your family life, fun and spontaneity and your hobbies and learning and all these good things. So it's important always to think of all these different things. Now I wanted to mention first, in case you have been hiding under a rock, you may not have heard that my book is coming out next Wednesday. So Wednesday the 3rd of October is launch day, so we're just 1 week away. Super excited about this. It's a collection of 50 stories, 50 individuals, some of whom are in this group. So hello to you all and thanks so much for your time and generosity in sharing your stories. These 50 courageous, extraordinary individuals have left the corporate 9 to 5, gone out on their own path, and I've divided those stories into 5 different sections. There are people who have changed into a different sector, for example, non-profit or a tech startup. There are people who've gone freelance, people who've started a business, people who've created a portfolio career, which is some combination of those different things. And that's sort of what I'm doing, really, I think, you never know. And finally, people who have taken a leap of faith. So those, and that section is actually pretty big. Those who have decided, you know what, enough is enough. I want to leave this and I'm not sure yet what to do. So those are the 50 stories in the 5 different sections, of course, framed through the lens of my own experiences and my client work and so on. And that's coming out next Wednesday. So do keep your eyes open for that. Join me if you can. I've shared the event for the launch day. I'll be popping in live all the time, I think, throughout the day to do some giveaways and some previews and all sorts. We'll see what happens next week. So do join me if you can. Do say hi if you're joining in. I'd love to hear who's here. I've just been talking a little bit about the book. Of course, it's coming out next Wednesday. After that, we'll also have another group challenge, which I'll tell you about probably in a couple of weeks or very, very soon. And then also my group program, but we'll talk about that later. There won't be a live next Wednesday. I'll just say that already now, next Wednesday evening, just because I will have gone live all throughout the day for the book launch, so you'll be sick of me on the one hand, and also it's my birthday, so I'll be out at the theatre and having dinner with my boyfriend. So apologies for that, and I'll try to remember to say that again later. Hi, Ellen, really great to see you. Thanks so much for joining live. So just a little bit about that book next week. I'll talk more about the challenge that's coming in due course. But this week, and you may have seen the blog post that I posted yesterday, I've been talking a little bit about, okay, so if you've decided you want to take that step out of the 9 to 5, or maybe you have started and you're getting a little bit overwhelmed, what are the things that you should be focusing on? And talking a little bit about the things that you shouldn't focus your energy on, that you don't need to do when you're first starting out on the one hand, and some of the things that you do need to do. And I'll talk through some of those. But if you are watching live, I'd love for you to tell me what you're up to at the moment, and also, do you have any questions? Is there something that you think that you should be doing, or something that you are doing but you don't think you should be doing. So if you're watching live or later on, of course, I know a lot of you watch the replay as well, do comment, share your own experiences and questions, and I'd love to hear what you think. If you disagree with me as well, those of you who are more experienced, because I know we have some more experienced entrepreneurs and freelancers and so on in the group as well. So to dive straight in, because I tend to fill the time very quickly with all my chatter, I wanted to share a few things that you don't need to do. And again, jump in if you think that actually this is something, or maybe if you want to ask, well, why do you need to do this? And one of the things I wrote about in the blog post that people found a bit amusing was that you don't need to chuck it all in right away. So let's say you've decided that, yes, you do want to quit your job, or even, you know, it doesn't have to be the corporate job. It could be that you've been doing some freelancing work, a particular kind of freelancing work with a particular kind of clients or something like that, and actually you want to pivot, you want to raise your rates, you want to do a different kind of work, you want to work with different clients, different times, and so on. Whatever sort of stage you're at, you don't need to make a drastic decision right now. So you don't need to suddenly tomorrow tell your boss you're going to quit or hand in your resignation. You don't need to tell all your clients, oh, I'm not going to do this kind of work anymore, I'm doing something else. And in fact, I'd advise you not to until you've had a bit more time to really plan out, okay, actually, rather than this, I'm going to do that. This is how I'm going to get there, and I'm going to transition gradually. And just, of course, to make sure that you are covering, you know, your expenses, your income needs, and so on. So you don't want to throw away everything before you've sort of got the new thing, if that makes sense. So don't dive off the ship until you have the life raft or the sort of next island that you're swimming towards, even though it's really, really tempting. Yes, and that is the important thing to bear in mind, isn't it, Ellen? So it is very, very tempting. And that I, hand on heart, I actually did leave without any kind of backup plan. So I'm always a little bit conflicted when I share this piece of advice. There is a section I was mentioning at the beginning of the book of people who have just taken that leap and gone off. However, there are lots of caveats there. So first of all, it still doesn't mean you should sort of throw it all in today, because you may be hormonal, you may just have sort of be making a rash decision today, and you still want to take some time. I certainly had taken time to think about it, so it wasn't a sort of sudden decision. But secondly, of course, it requires a lot of things to be true. You need to be pretty happy to take some risk. You know, you need to be on top of your finances. You need to know what the situation is. Certainly if you have family and other obligations and so on, you probably need a good savings buffer. You might need to move in with family and so on. So it's not so trivial. So yes, it's tempting, but remember that now that you've decided you're going to make this leap or take these steps, you're going to be really motivated by the fact that every day you are working towards the goal of ultimately quitting, ultimately pivoting or changing the business direction. So just hold on to that. The other thing that's a little bit related to that is don't sort of rush into signing up to some really expensive long-term course and some new qualification. I think those of us who are used to having kind of these CVs with good schools and jobs and degrees and so on are very much sort of tempted into thinking, oh, I have to retrain and reskill, I've got to sign up to this formal course and get this certification. And while I love learning, and I certainly did sign up to a coach training, and I've done a lot of different courses and things over the years, and I continue to do so, again, I think it's important to take a step back, think about, hang on, what do I really need to learn? Is this really what I want to do? And what is the best course or format or so on to do so? So sort of no need to throw lots of money at this and commit yourself. I know, again, it can be tempting because I feel like, you know, I'm actually moving forwards here. I'm taking a big step. I'm sort of signing up to this. I've talked, and the person shall remain nameless, but I have a contact. I know somebody, let's say a friend of a friend, who you know, did Oxford University undergraduate, Cambridge University postgraduate, Stanford MBA, and it just becomes a little bit ridiculous after a while, unless of course you want a career in academia. But certainly running your own business, and those formal qualifications are less sort of critical. And that's really good news for us, because it means that if we have sort of an atypical CV, if perhaps we're a little bit older and some sort of traditional companies don't value our skill sets and think, you know, we're outside of the bracket that they want to hire and all these things, we can actually really effectively package up our skills and strengths into a really effective, convincing offer. You know, with social media, with all the different technologies available now, we can reach clients in ways that wasn't possible before, and we don't need to go sort of the traditional application route. So yes, if we had to go via sort of the traditional application of checking the boxes of having to have these qualifications, then those qualifications are important. But when we're running our own business, not so important. We just need to know that we can do so. So I need to check my list now, because I want to see what else I have in terms of things you don't need to do. Well, I don't know how many people really do this, but I think traditionally, certainly, we sort of feel that, and you know, the whole tech startup thing that we hear about, we hear a lot about investment, and people are bootstrapping and seed rounds and AB and all this stuff that I barely understand. And the reality is you don't need to take a massive loan out. You don't need to find an investor, unless, of course, you know, and there's somebody in the book, Wayne, in fact, who was setting up a physical community space, and he got a loan of £10,000 to be able to set that up. And it may be that you have a product business, or you know, you need a physical location and so on, and you may be able to get a loan for that, but it's not necessary. And certainly if it's a service business, if you're freelancing, consulting, coaching, all these things, it's relatively easy to get that up and running with limited investment. So the other thing, and we were having a really great discussion with Estelle about this the other day, in terms of time versus money. And if you have money, you know, then you can do certain things. For example, within your business, you can hire people, you can outsource, you can run Facebook ads and so on. However, if you don't have money, you can still get a lot of the same results. It's just going to take a bit more time. So if you have a lot of time, let's say if you've chucked in the towel, you know, you've handed in your resignation, you're now free to pursue your passion, then of course you have lots of time to message people manually, to do the work and so on. So, you know, it's sort of a time versus money, but certainly you don't need a massive investment these days in the business. And something else a bit related to that, I suppose, is to come up with sort of a detailed 10-year business plan. And, you know, I'm all for having a vision. I'm a big strategy person. I've always been that kind of fundamentals and planning, and I love my whiteboard and my notepad with all my strategies and things. But it's simply impossible to predict what you're going to want to do, what the economy is going to do, what your business will look like in 10 years' time. So in terms of the bigger picture of your life, knowing that you'd love to have published a book, or traveled to the Taj Mahal, or you want to meet somebody, or you want to live by the ocean, you want to have the flexibility to spend time with your children, those big things, yes, definitely plan big and plan long term. But when it comes to a business, it's more going to be, you know, the next year, the next couple of years you need to think about. Of course, again, you know, if you know that you want to be location independent, you probably want to bear that in mind. So you don't want to build up a really physical business where you need to be in a particular location all the time. But other than that, you know, it's just the parameters really that are the big picture. You know, really it's the short term that's important, certainly where you're getting up and running. And you really can't, as much as I'd love to be able to do that, we can't sit behind our computers and plan out the perfect business plan, the theory of it all. As much as we can use frameworks and experience and expertise and so on, we need to go out there and see what happens. We need to post and see what resonates. We need to talk to our clients. You know, we need to see if people are willing to pay for what we're creating. So there's a big piece of really executing and seeing what happens, rather than, you know, just doing the theory and then coming out with our massive, beautiful PDF or PowerPoint document, whatever it is, with our perfect strategy. So those are some of the things that I don't think we need to do. Anyone else want to add anything to that list, do add by all means. I'm sure there are lots of other things we can think of. Probably, you know, hiring a full team, hiring an office space, business cards and a fancy website and all things. Of course, we do need a basic presence, whether it's, you know, when you're starting out, it could be your LinkedIn profile, it could be a very simple landing page or a Facebook page or something like that. But certainly I see a lot of people tempted to pay a lot of money to get a custom designed website. And again, if you have a lot of time, actually you can learn, you know, if you wanted to, you could learn coding, but there are lots of now themes and plugins and things. You know, I've built my own websites using existing frameworks, and it's been a learning curve, and I have become more advanced over the years, but I certainly didn't need to code the whole thing, but I also haven't needed to pay thousands of pounds to get someone to design something custom built. So just so you're aware that you don't need to, from the start, have the perfect website, the perfect logo, and business cards. I love to create business cards. I do have these cute little ones from Moo, which is a great company, but it's very, very rare that I remember to bring them with me, and it's very rare that I give them to anyone or anyone asks for them, because these days you find the email or the website or LinkedIn or whatever. So those are some things we don't need to do. So what do we need to do? So one of the things, and I always talk about this, it's not fun, but it is to do the maths, to look at your financials. And that's everything from your personal, the personal picture. I think a lot of people who are stuck in their jobs, and certainly people I know in London is not the cheapest place to live, are, caught up in the mortgage and the car and the kids and the big house and so on. The living costs are high, and we just think, how could we ever possibly quit this job? It's just irresponsible, it's not possible, and we just don't even consider it. However, whatever your situation, what would be the parameters under which you could consider leaving? So what savings would you need to have in place? What income level would you need to have? So can you build your business alongside your job, so that you gradually kind of prove the business idea, you get those clients, and then you can transition. And by the way, of course, the second income stream is great. So even if you never quit, actually having this kind of side hustle business is not a bad thing at all. But getting super clear on exactly what that picture is, I think sometimes, and probably most times, we're pleasantly surprised. And even if it's worse than we thought, at least we know and we can do something about it rather than burying our heads in the sand. And I think as full-time employees, I certainly didn't have a good picture at all about my, I had a salary that came in, but tax was taken off at source, and I got the, 80% health insurance, a pension that, as it turned out, wasn't that great when I left. And I didn't really know how much I was earning or how much I was spending. I didn't have any obligations. I had cheap flats, didn't have a car or a mortgage or anything like that, and I just kind of spent quite recklessly without really worrying about it. So Alan, you're saying is the finances the very first thing to do. Can you tell me more about what kind of moment you're at, Ellen, in terms of, are you just beginning to think about this, or tell me a little bit more about sort of the stage you're at, and then I can answer that question a bit better. These are more sort of ideas. It's not necessarily the 1, 2, 3 steps, but certainly I'd say yes, getting on top of your finances is a good first place to start. One of the big things that holds us back, as I said, is money, and also just the fear that we're not going to earn enough. So having an accurate picture of, how much we need to live, and then eventually how much we need to bring in as well is really important. Oh, great. Well, congratulations, Alan, and you're absolutely in the right place. We have a lot of, hopefully, resources and support for you here. I do think, as I said, the money piece is one of the things to start with. I think if you're really starting out, there's a bit more sort of groundwork you can do in terms of getting super clear on why it is you want to leave. There can be reasons that are sort of more immediate triggers. We can be reaching burnout. We can have a really evil boss. It could be something that's grown over years. 5 years, well, I made it 7 years, Ellen, but I can see you're smarter than I am in terms of leaving. So, there's a step at which we go, I know that I don't want to do this anymore. And then the next thing for you is going to be to work out, what do you want to do instead? And do you know what you want to do instead? Because I think that's sort of another area as well that's really important. I think we often rush into thinking, how are we going to do this? Do I need to, again, do this course? Do I need to have a website? I need to learn how to do this, that, and the other. But the first step has to be understanding, okay, now what do we want to do instead? And sometimes that can involve maybe going traveling, getting out of your usual circumstances. I went, before I quit, I actually took a sabbatical to South America for 3 months. I met, totally different people, had really different perspectives on life, on careers and so on. I devoured every book I could get my hands on in terms of career and business. I read, and of course now there's podcasts and so on as well. So getting out of your sort of bubble as well is really important. Okay, yeah, 11 years, there you go. So you've exceeded mine, so well done. But sometimes, we think changing to a different company is going to be enough. Sometimes we think changing sector. And when I was first considering leaving, I actually thought about, I was tempted into interviews for a chocolate company, a coffee company, even a sort of a film company, which would have been amazing to be on the red carpet and so on. But, there's only so much that you get from changing to a different company. I think in the short term, it gives you a new environment, a new steeper learning curve, new colleagues, maybe a higher salary, interesting content and so on, but ultimately we know that that's not what we're after. So I do think thinking about what it is you want to do instead. And when I say what you want to do instead, I don't mean, again, coming up with an exact business plan of this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm going to charge. More, okay, what are the parameters and what are sort of the most important things people values for me? So I recognize when I actually can't remember what the three were now when I left. I want to say freedom was one of my strongest values when I came out of that very sort of corporate environment. And also having lived in Geneva, so quite a small town, I just felt I was very much in my little comfort zone, my bubble. So I went off and did lots of adventures and traveled and so on. So curiosity was another one. I now really think a lot of us value freedom, flexibility, fulfillment. We want to be free to make our own choices, to perhaps be able to travel, to work when and where we want to. That's also the flexibility, to prioritize the things and people who are important to us, but also do stimulating, meaningful work. But I think getting super clear on those parameters of these are the criteria for my move. These are my values. This is the money I would need coming in. This is what it might look like in terms of more sort of your ideal day even. I want to get up at, without an alarm was something I had as a goal. And I want to be able to manage my day and so on. So I'd say be patient. Allow yourself more time than you think to dream, to go away, to try things and just experiment and explore, and maybe give yourself a deadline depending on how urgent this is. Since it's quite tempting to quit, you can give yourself a month, 3 months, 2 months, whatever it is, till the end of the year, maybe now till December, to just explore, to be curious, to learn, to find out. And then, you set another deadline for making a decision on, okay, now I'm going to validate this business idea, whatever it is. But I really think there's a lot to be said for just taking off the pressure to make a decision and work out exactly how you're going to do it and just explore. We've been in, and 11 years is a long time, we've been in this world, it's all we know. It's very easy to sort of get the blinders on and not realize all the opportunities that are out there. So rather than, again, leaping off that boat and sort of grabbing onto the nearest life raft, which again I did, I did it relatively consciously, but I realized with hindsight that it wasn't actually what I wanted to do. I very quickly began consulting for different companies. So it was a step in the right direction. I was still doing the same kind of work, different companies. So, exciting to meet new colleagues, new teams, new projects. And I was able to travel between the contracts. So that was a lot more freedom and flexibility, but it was still the same kind of work. I was still tied to the office and so on. So, it was a step in the right direction, but not quite where I wanted to end up. But, we're all young. We have years where we'll be working. We're not going to retire until, 85 these days? So we've got plenty of years to figure these out. So yes, definitely get on top of the finances, allow yourself to explore. What does success look like for you is a way in which I usually phrase that. What are your core values? What are the parameters and so on? And talk to people, actually. That's another one, network. And find people outside of your immediate circle, because again, probably your closest friends and family are going to be people who are very much in that corporate world, and they're going to look at you a bit strangely. They're going to say, but haven't you thought about this, and isn't that really dangerous and risky and so on. I found that going to events, meeting people, joining a group like this hopefully, and finding your so-called tribe of people who are frustrated like you, who are trying to achieve the same things as you now, is hugely liberating, empowering, reassuring, and opens your eyes again to lots of things outside. So, finding people who are having the same kind of rumblings and thinking about the same kind of things as you are is really important as well. Also, from more of a networking perspective, and I know it's an icky word, I don't love networking, and sales and all these things aren't very nice things to do, but ultimately is just talking to people. So, just meeting new people, again, at these events, hearing what other people are doing, being curious, asking them what that's like. Certainly if you already have an idea of the kind of thing you'd like to do, if you're interested in some kind of coaching or therapy or freelance work, then finding people who are already doing that, of course, is a great way to learn what that's like and to ask some questions. So networking is an important one. I say also swallow your pride, and this is a difficult one. I know a lot of people who work with me are like me as well. We think we should be able to do this alone. Women often, especially, I think we're really, we put our heads down, we work hard, and we are going to manage, and we can manage. But there's no need to do it alone, right? There is so much, and again, we talked about this the other day, so much free content out there now. You can listen to podcasts. In my case, I have this Facebook Live every Wednesday. I've got emails and articles. I'm in here every day answering questions. There's so much content for free actually that you can follow. But then also, having someone who's a few steps ahead of you who you can ask questions to, potentially, signing up to a course if there's a particular area you need to grow in, or a structured program to help you through the transition. But don't sort of struggle in silence, I guess. Don't suffer in silence. There are other people who can and are willing to help. So, we have to accept, I think, when we're starting a little bit from scratch in this new career, new business, even though we can bring a lot of skills and strengths and experiences with us, we are to some extent starting again. And it will take some time to get up and running. So, a little bit of curiosity, a little bit of humility, and being open to learning rather than thinking we have to have all the answers at once. That's really important too. And then the final one, and it comes down a little bit to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, Ellen, about understanding what your definition of success is and what you really want to do. It's getting super clear on why this is important to you, because the reality is this is going to take some time. It is going to be difficult. You're going to have some doubts. There are all sorts of these charts that I'm sure you could find if you Google in terms of, the emotional roller coaster that you go through of euphoria, I'm quitting, to this is amazing, I can do all these things, to I've got no money coming in, to I've got this great idea, no one wants it. It's a lot of this kind of emotional up and down. And that's why, again, having your support network, having potentially, your coach or mentor, but importantly, really getting super clear on why this is important to you. Me knowing that I want to have time for my children, I want to have the energy to be able to play with my son on the football field, I want to be able to travel for 6 weeks every summer, I want to be able to do X, Y, Z, and this is important to me because my children are the most important thing in my life, and so on. That's a much more powerful motivator than, I want to start a business. I think I could, I could work a bit less. I don't know, I'm just making up a little, so I can't even think of a non-motivated way to start a business because I'm so excited about it. But you know what I mean, that if you're just doing it because you feel you should, or you're just doing it because you don't want to do this anymore, but you don't yet know why you're excited about this, I think that's not enough of a motivator. So when you inevitably have those low points, I think it is important to hang on to that really strong why. So those were the first things. Oh, actually, no, I have another one. Of course, it requires then sort of knowing already what your business is going to be a little bit, so maybe when you're a little further along the line, along the process, but it's something I often emphasize, which is to start building an audience. And again, going back to my experience, I did this very unintentionally, in the sense that I started blogging about my travels way before I even knew I was going to get into personal development and careers and coaching and so on. But that gradually sort of gave me a platform. I refined my voice, as it were, and I got people around the world sort of beginning to pick it up. I began to reach out to some publications where I could get published, and gradually I kind of built that audience so that then when I was ready to go, actually, I've got this offer, now I've got this book, I've got this program, I've got coaching and so on, I already had an audience that was interested in what I had to say, hopefully, and perhaps some of them also willing to buy from me. I think one of the fallacies is that we think we can just put up a website and go, ta-da, buy my services, I'm a VA now, I'm a graphic designer, I'm a coach, these are my prices, boom, we post once and that's it. And that's not it, unfortunately. There's so much noise now, of course, in the world, and there's people creating content left, right and center, and so many websites and coaches and all these things. So, it's not enough just to put their website up and sales will come coming in. So, it is nerve-wracking to, let's say, turn the camera on and do a Facebook Live, or to post something very vulnerably, maybe to share your personal story. But I'd really encourage you to begin to tentatively share some content that you're interested in, comment and like on other people's content, and then gradually, as you build your confidence, begin to, create your own content as well. Because starting to have that audience, ultimately, you know, we want to have perhaps a Facebook group or an email list or something to be able to then eventually market to. But having that audience is going to be critical. Even if it's, you know, if it's a B2B, if you're working as a consultant with corporations, then of course LinkedIn probably as an example is a good platform. But already establishing yourself there, tidying up your profile, beginning to connect with people and have some conversations, that could be interesting too. So that's a little further down the line, but still I'd certainly start it sooner rather than later. So I don't know how, oh, there's lots of people watching suddenly. I think we're just about to finish now. So it's 9:30 here in Sweden. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to finish and finish packing everything up and so on, because as I said at the beginning, I'm leaving for England. If you have just joined the last few minutes, then I'd love for you to go back and watch. We've been talking about some of the things that you don't need to be doing when you're first starting out, and some of the things you do need to be doing or could consider doing. I'd love for you to share your comments and feedback and anything you'd like to add to the list. Or if you have a question, if you're really busy doing something and thinking, is this really something I need to be doing? Or, you know, if you're not doing something and vice versa. That doesn't even make sense, but you know what I mean. You know, if you already are in a full-time job and you're trying to build a business along the side, you only have a certain number of hours to work on that. So let's say you've got 10 hours, which is quite a lot, sounds like a lot, a week to work on your new business or to work out what you want to do. You have to recognize that those 10 hours are exploring what you want to do. It's building an audience, it's accounting, admin, it's you know, setting up the business and all that stuff in the beginning, and it is actually doing the work. So maybe, you know, 2 or 3 hours of client work and then 7, 8 hours of all the other stuff around it. You're not going to be, you know, earning a huge amount of money, and you certainly need to be thinking quite creatively how you're going to use those 10 hours to really make a difference, so that you don't end up spending those 10 hours just faffing around and then a year later you're in the same position still. So really important to get super clear on where your priorities are and what you should be focusing on. So again, if you have any questions, this is a topic I'm sure we'll come back to and we've talked about in the past too. Do let me know. But thanks so much for joining. Ellen in particular, we had a good chat. Hopefully I've given you a few different ideas. Hi Christina, good to see you as well. Great to have you live. I do want to remind as well, I did say at the beginning, but since we have a few new people, there won't be a live stream next week on 3rd of October in the evening, because number one, I'm going live all throughout the day and you'll be sick of me because of the book launch, and number two, it is my birthday, so I will be out at the theatre and dinner hopefully, so looking forward to that. So no live next week 8 o'clock, but I will be back the following week, and there will be news in the next couple of weeks about the group challenge that's coming up. It's a 5-day challenge. It's the 3rd one we're running this year, and I think it'll be great for those of you who are in particular just starting out and trying to come up with and refine and evolve your business idea. So thanks again, great to see you. If you've watched the replay, if you're watching the replay, do please comment and say hi. I can still reply to your questions and come back to you later as well. Tia, thanks so much for joining. Good to see you live as well. Thank you very much. So again, please add your thoughts, questions, comments, and if you have any requests for future content as well, then let me know. But that's it from me. Last day in Sweden here. It's getting pretty cold and rainy here, so I'm happy to be coming back to England, where apparently it's warm and sunny, so I look forward to that. But great to see you all. Have a lovely evening, week, and I'll see you back in the group very soon. Bye for now.